Good evening. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Welcome to American Baptist College, and also welcome to the historic chapel in American Baptist College. I think it's a fitting place to have such a much needed conversation. I'm grateful for all of you who joined us tonight to discuss when religion becomes evil. For many of you, you are aware of the statement of conscience that many people of faith signed on to about the things that we are committed to, irrespective of our faith traditions. So tonight I've put together what I think is a great panel of local pastors and scholars of varying faith traditions to engage us in this conversation. I must be candid and say that one of the reasons why I picked the individuals for tonight's discussion is their commitment, their public-facing commitment to the social justice issues that are facing us in our society. I wanted to hear from them, from their various faith traditions around their own commitment to social justice tonight. So the way I want to get this started, since these minutes don't last long and they're gone, I want to begin by introducing our panelists for this evening. Us up would be Imam Ossama Bahloul, the resident scholar of the Islamic Center of Nashville. Ossama Bahloul, PhD, the resident scholar of the Islamic Center of Nashville, comes to Nashville with a wealth of experience and knowledge. He is a graduate of Al-Azhar University in Cairo, Egypt, where he earned his BA in Islamic studies, as well as his master's degree and ultimately his PhD. Dr. Bahloul completed his PhD in comparative religions. His thesis, entitled Critique of Christian Issues Within Wilder Ranch, The Story of Civilization, is a much needed research area for our conversation tonight. Just a little bit more about him. Prior to his coming to the Islamic Center in Nashville, Dr. Bahloul was the Imam at the Islamic Center of Murfreesboro, where he led and supported the community through severe Islamophobic attacks while building the only mosque in Murfreesboro. All of this was, as many of you who are from Nashville, all of this was covered extensively in the media. Above all, Dr. Bahloul is a devoted and loving husband to his wife, Ivy Bahloul, and a caring, compassionate father to his three beautiful children, Shayna, Adam, and Nora. Welcome, Dr. Bahloul. Secondly, we have Rabbi Shana Goldstein Mackler. She's been serving as the rabbi at the Temple Congregation Ohabai Sholom in Nashville. I probably didn't say that right. Since her ordination at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion in Cincinnati in 2004. Prior to that, she earned her Master's of Arts in Hebrew Letters from HUC in 2003 and graduated Phi Beta Kappa from the University of Florida in 1998. She served congregations in Michigan, Florida, and even in Mississippi. As a rabbi, she combines her love of Judaism and her passion for lifelong education, social justice, and interfaith work. Rabbi Mackler is proud of the legacy of social justice at the Temple and is honored to be a representative in the larger community, building a strong foundation as a partner for other communities of difference to bring about greater understanding, inclusion, and cooperation. Welcome, Rabbi Shana Mackler.
Thanks for including me. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Next would be Ingrid McIntyre, the pastor of Glencliff United Methodist Church. Ingrid is also the co-founder and former executive director of Open Table Nashville, a ministry with those experiencing homelessness that focuses on disrupting cycles of poverty in the Nashville area. She also serves as pastor of Glencliff United Methodist Church and is a founding director of the Village at Glencliff, a tiny home respite respite for individuals experiencing homelessness. Good evening, Ingrid. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. My video won't start, but I'm glad to be here. It says that it won't open, but I'm good being faceless.
Okay. Oh, so you're going to be faceless with us all evening?
Well, I don't know. If my video if it'll let me turn my video on. It just says that the host just asked me. There I am. Hi. Glad
hey, Ingrid, how are you?
Great. Thanks.
Okay. All right. And finally, Dr. Chris Williamson, pastor of Strong Tower Bible Church. He's the founder and senior pastor of Strong Tower Bible Church, a multi-dimensional fellowship in Nashville, Tennessee. Since 1995, Pastor Chris is about leading Strong Tower Bible Church to be a difference maker for the Lord locally and globally. Pastor Chris earned his BA in Biblical Studies from Liberty University, his master's in Religious Education from Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary, and his doctors of strategic leadership from Regent University School of Business. He hails from Calvary Evangelical Baptist Church in Portsmouth, Virginia. And he was, for 6 years, he was a member of a pioneer Christian rap group, Transformation Crusade. I did not know that about you, Chris. He has preached and taught around the country at various colleges, universities, conferences, and outreach events, not only in the United States, but also throughout Africa and the Caribbean and even in Europe. Pastor Chris is married and he lives here in Franklin, and he has 4 beautiful children, Dante, Krista, Chase, and Caris. He's also authored 2 books, Making Disciples Who Make a Difference, and One But Not the Same, God's Diverse Kingdom Comes Through Race, Class, and Gender. Welcome, Dr. Williamson.
Pastor Tucker, it's good to see you again, my brother.
Man, good to see you too. I am really glad to be in all of y'all's company this evening, primarily because we all have a relationship of some sort that our paths cross and our work has often dovetailed together. So hopefully, as I get over the earlier techno glitch, that I can settle down and hopefully help facilitate what I'm hoping will be a great conversation tonight. We have lost Dr. Harris, who is going to give us introductory remarks that I thought would really be helpful and even help crafting and framing this conversation. So at this point, Quentin, can you hear me? Have we located Dr. Harris yet? Okay, all right, that is, I guess that is what that is. So again, I welcome you to the campus of my alma mater, a place where I found my voice, the American Baptist College. And I want to just jump right into this. And even as in the absence of Dr. Harris's remarks, I'm going to make a attempt at trying to at least frame this. Charles Kimball wrote a book entitled When Religion Becomes Evil. And it's in his book, he issues 5 warning signs: absolute truth claims, blind obedience, establishing the ideal time, the end justifies any means, and declaring holy war. There's a quote I like to read: religion is arguably the most powerful and pervasive force on earth. At the same time, history clearly shows that religion has often been linked directly to the worst examples of human behavior. It is somewhat trite, but nevertheless sadly true to say that more wars have been waged, more people killed, and these days more evil perpetrated in the name of religion than by any other institutional force in human history. I find that to be a graphic statement, and one that hopefully will frame our conversations tonight. We're all aware, and we're in the middle of not only a pandemic, but prior to that, there was civil unrest that was brewing over police brutality within our country that has since reached a fever pitch. Added to those two issues, we have what some people call a unresolved presidential election that has been charged with political and religious rhetoric that in many cases is very vitriolic. So as we begin this conversation, I just want to ask this question, and I want to give each of you the opportunity to respond to it. Name a time when faith has become evil in your justice work. And if you were to revisit that situation, what do you think went wrong? Name a time when faith, your faith or any faith, has become evil as it relates to your justice work. And if you were to revisit that situation, what went wrong? And I want to start in the way I did the introductions and start with Dr. Bahloul. You need to unmute, Doc.
Yes, that's, I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you very much for allowing this discussion. I think we can all agree that religion is very critical because religious people intend to claim at least that they are speaking in God's behalf. So we are not male or female anymore when speaking, when conveying a position from any secret text. The people are listening to us will assume that we are conveying to them God's position. So it's a very powerful position to have. Very good if the intent and the outcome is good, very dangerous if the outcome is bad or the intent is bad. You ask me to name a certain circumstance. I think everyone in America should. And I remember with sadness what happened in September the 11th. Well, here Muslim individuals, at least according to the conclusion, claim that killing and eliminating one's life can please God in any way. And while the massive majority of the Muslims will see them as an individual hijacking their own religion, it seems like religion at least came across as evil. Within the current context, recently at least within Middle Tennessee, I should recall with sadness upon the time when we were trying to build the Islamic Center of Murfreesboro. It was a troubling time because while people have the right always to speak their mind, have the right to protest even, I feel like we cannot be a full human without a full freedom. But I thought it was troubling to me, to say the least, when some people within the religious community outside of Islam try to prevent people from building a facility. Not only that, when someone came to my office and they said this to me, he said, I am here to let you know that you are going to hell. And he was a religious figure. And I learned over the time to take it easy. And I had no option but to be sarcastic, saying to him, did God send you an email last night with the list of the people going to hell, and it happened that you found my name there? And he said, no, you did not accept the Christ, therefore you are going to hellfire. I said, well, you should be proud of your religion, but you should be mindful of your position and allow God to handle his own business. Here is religion become really evil, killing and eliminating the life of innocent people going to their work in New York, hurting an individual, trying to take care of his job, extending a facility, because we need a facility in Murfreesboro. And I think within our current context, I have to be frank saying when people intend to dismiss morality altogether, claiming that I will vote to certain candidate because maybe he is pro-life, while pro-life is critical, and I really appreciate the position, but can we ignore the entire morality? I feel maybe religion can come across troubling. And I remember maybe 7 years ago when we start to deal with the movement, be away from religion. Religion is the source of trouble. I think religion is a very complicated being, and I think we see religion through our own perspective. A good individual will see religion to be really good. Troublemakers can do so much mess, claiming that he or she is pleasing God. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Rabbi Mackler.
Hi, thank you for that question. And I have to, say my experience personally is not nearly as deep as Imam Bahloul's experience with that tenor, that sort of just that amount of evil that had come out in such an obvious way. The question begs me to think about the quote by the late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, who called that kind of evil altruistic evil. He wrote a book called Not in God's Name, and it talked about religious violence. And he uses this phrase altruistic evil to connote killing in the name of the God of life, or hating in the name of the God of love, or practicing cruelty in the name of the God of compassion. And I think that when we experience the hostility toward all the good work that is trying to be done, that's where we experience that altruistic evil. So in the justice work that I've done, my experience is when people have what some have called the evil of indifference, right? In their churches or in their synagogues or in their mosques or even in their own spiritual practice, when they abandon the good work, that love or the life or the compassion, that God that we say that we serve, when we allow the justice work to be undone, and we condone that indifference, I think that really is the evil that we allow to perpetuate. So I see that particularly in most recent, with some of the racial justice that we've seen, and the messages denying the Black Lives Matter call, or if you were to do justice work like I did in the field of immigration, and you have people that stand up and no matter their faith, we all welcome the stranger, and to not do that, to not allow that to happen, that is where I see that altruistic evil come out. It's, to do these things or to preach the word in such a way that violates really that call. So to me, that's where I see that evil showing its head, is really through the either altruistic evil or that indifference to evil.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Now to Pastor McIntyre. Can you name a time when faith has become evil as it relates to your justice work?
Yeah, I do a lot of work on the streets and with people experiencing homelessness, on a day-to-day basis, who have struggled through a lot. And one of the most hurtful things that I've seen, and I will say mostly Christians, because that's my background, and that's the community that has responded in this way, sometimes have said, we love these people, but not too close, right? And I think that can be evil. Cutting people out of our communities who are the very people that we are called to love the most, that we are the very people, they're the very people that we are called to be most compassionate to and with. And when communities decide that, we want to be able to serve while we're standing behind the food line, right? That's safe. We want to be able to serve where we dump our used clothes into your church fellowship hall for people to dig through. Like, that's safe. But there's no justice in that, right? There's really no breaking of any kind of cycle. There's no relationship building. There's not, I want you to move next door. There's no proximity there. And certainly it's proximity that helps change our hearts, right? That transforms our lives. And helps create more compassionate people. And so I think in my work, the hardest thing that it has went specifically around poverty and homelessness, which of course is very intersectional, but specifically with that, with those particular folks, it's been not understanding. It's fear, right? Fear creates this evil. But one of my most unfavorite quotes is, I love Jesus, but I love Jesus, but I don't want those people to live next door to me, right? So far that they would take us to the state Supreme Court to say, we don't want these people living in our neighborhood, right? I feel like that's evil. It is not, two planes flying into the World Trade Center. I feel like it's a smaller evil, obviously, but is really hurtful at individual levels, and then obviously in systemic levels, because that spreads. And so what we say in our work is NIMBYism, right? Not in my backyard. So Christians who would love to talk about the money they spend, buying poor people things, or the money that they spend on charity work, which again is important. And I don't want to say that isn't important work. I call that kidney dialysis. Like, we're looking for the kidney, right? But you got to have dialysis along the way to keep you going. But when people really build literal walls in front of themselves to not have to see poverty, or to not want to interact with people in a different income bracket than them. And then of course the larger issue of wealth distribution, etc. But that's the evil that I have experienced.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Williamson.
Yes, sir.
Get you to respond to that. Can you name a time when faith has become evil in your work?
Sure. I believe that religion becomes evil when there is money to be made, land to be acquired, and people to oppress. The Bible says that the love of money is the root to all kinds of evil. So we know that the slave trade that began in the 1400s, it started because of money, a love of money, and it led to the oppression of people and the acquisition of land. And so as we move towards the founding of America, we can't neglect the foundation on which this country was built, which was white Christian nationalism. And for 400 years, since 1619, when my ancestors arrived here in Jamestown, we have been dealing with the ramifications of not only white Christian nationalism that nearly stomped out the indigenous peoples, that enslaved Africans and abused Asian people and Latino people, on and on and on. And I think that's the thing that all three religious traditions have in common here, and that is we all at some point have had to deal with white supremacy and the spirit of white nationalism, the religion of white nationalism that still has bearings on us today. When we think about the 81% that got Trump elected in 2016 and how that number rose for this election and even rose with white women, white evangelical women voting for him. And so it has ruined our witness in many ways because they are under the Christian umbrella. They profess to worship Jesus Christ. And yet it's that same spirit that my ancestors were carried to the Americas on ships named Jesus. And they were told to convert to Jesus. And they were given a slave Bible and all those kinds of things that have been constant in the American experience, but yet so quickly denied when those things are brought up as to say that they have no bearings on today, that there is no ripple effect. But when it's right in front of your face and you are trying to, in my church, which is multiracial, also cross political, that you're trying to explain to Black people who are frustrated with the white Christian evangelical movement and their just acceptance of any and everything that the president says and does in the name of Christianity, in the name of abortion, in the name of same sex, in the name of marriage, that they have these things for their quote unquote platform. But to hear the xenophobia, to hear the misogyny, to hear the hate speech and them not say anything about it, to hear them defend Confederate iconography, there's just a disconnect that is hard in this culture to truly represent what Christianity really means. So there's a lot of educating we have to do and realize that everybody's not down, with Christ who says that they name his name. So that's part of my ministry, educating, teaching, again, taking down the strongholds in our community, Confederate flags, and dealing with framing history properly. So yeah, the work is ongoing. But I tell you, man, it gets discouraging sometimes to hear that the same thing that Frederick Douglass dealt with as a former slave in terms of this Christianityism, this thing, that this slave holding religion, that not much has changed after hundreds of years in our seminaries, in our churches, in our places of business, our Christian broadcasting places. I mean, it's the same thing, the spirit of white supremacy. So it's evil, and that's what makes it evil. And I would say in every religion, in every faith, you have zealots and you have extremists that embarrass us, from Dylan Roof to, as my brother mentioned, the men who claim to represent Islam flying planes into buildings. So yeah, they make it tough on us, but still we're able to reach those who have ears to hear.
Thank you. Now, what I found that was interesting in just this first question that I want to, all the examples that were given in that question were Christian examples. That's interesting. That's interesting. Now, let me move on, but I've made a few notes. If I circle back around to that horse, but that is really, really interesting. White Christian nationalism, altruistic evil. Y'all are helping me and basically giving me stuff to read later. Let me jump to absolute truth claims. And I want to frame that in a way. Swindle says that he lists 5 signs that religious extremism can arise up out of these 5 areas. One of those areas are absolute truth claims. And I know that within our faiths, we hold certain doctrines and dogmas as one of our foundation of our faith. How are you able to work with people of other faiths without your absolute truth claims impacting or impeding that work? Because again, I've known your work and what you do and how you are able in interfaith situations to make significant contributions. So maybe that may be helpful. How do you handle the truth claims of your faith without denying them, but you're also able to work with others? Let me start with Ingrid this time.
No problem. I am really fortunate. I'm going to speak out of my own personal experience. Hopefully, I'm not every white Christian woman. I pray to God that I'm living a different life sometimes than every white Christian woman. I grew up in a family who loved Jesus, who was Christian. My father is a United Methodist pastor as well. And they focused more on the love of Jesus than the man of Jesus, right? The love and the compassion, the teachings of Jesus. And to me, Jesus accepted everyone. Jesus didn't say, can I heal you after you claim me as your Lord and Savior, right? Can I heal you after you claim me first, right? That was not a condition. It was not a condition to sit at the table with Christ. Christ loved, from what I can tell, from what I've studied and read, loved people unconditionally. And so if Christ is able to do that, like, how am I not? If we are following Christ, and Christ is able to love unconditionally, that's up to Christ, right? That's up to God. That's up to Christ. I am here to love unconditionally. And so I don't have absolutes for others, I guess. And that is probably not what a lot of other Christians would want to hear, or maybe even my bishop, which is fine. That's my answer, is that Jesus, the love that I have experienced of Christ, either through reading or through tradition or through experience, has been an all-inclusive love. And I am grateful for that, and know that not everyone has had that experience, which makes me, it propels me forward in my work. Chris, when you are talking of all that evil, those are the things that propel me forward in my work, because I know that our work is not done when that's the answer, right? When that's the foundation that we're working from, and when people are still making judgments in the name of Christ, really, right? And saying that white nationalism is the thing. It's not. That's my belief, right? And so I guess those absolute faith claims of other people, I don't feel put upon by anyone else to feel a certain way, or to believe a certain thing. But I guess that's where it comes down for me. It's pretty simple, I guess. Like, that would never hold up in one of my classes in seminary, right? But that's what it is for me. That's how I put one foot in front of the other on the streets. That's how I meet with brothers and sisters and siblings of all kinds. To me, it is an unconditional love where everyone is welcome, and that is not a judgment. No, there is no judgment from me, because that is not what I saw in the example of Christ.
Thank you. Dr. Bahloul.
Well, Islamically speaking, we are in a very comfortable position, because God mentioned this issue very clearly within a text. When you said, you have your religion and I have mine. First, to believe in the power of God. If God wants to create us all identical, he has the power to do this. Regardless of the God you have, your God should be powerful, and he or she can do whatever he or she wants to do. So God intentionally created us like this, made us into tribes and nations, for us actually to get to know one another. Secondly, it's a part of my belief that I must not be concerned at all about changing anyone's mind. A result is not anything bother me, really. Well, I'm supposed to be myself, and I will share what I have with people around me. For them to accept or not, it's not any of my business. Thirdly, I believe strongly that if anyone claims that she or he believes in God, he or she must not be able to have the hatred feeling toward anyone. As simple as that. If your heart is full of love toward God, you cannot really hate his creatures. And I don't think we should aim to have an agreement all of the time. but we should invest in intellectual agreement and disagreement. It's a discussion. Freedom is beautiful, and for everyone to speak his or her mind. Keeping this in mind led me to enjoy each discussion. When speaking with a Jewish scholar like A.G. Levine, we're speaking about the issue of Israel and Palestine and the Jewish. I enjoy the discussion, and I know that she intends well. And I know she knows that I have a good intention, and we enjoy the outcome. When speaking even with evangelical, trying to hammer Muslim heavily, I try my very best to be mindful of their intent. In their mind, they want me to be saved. So I appreciate really their intention. They might come across quite aggressive, but I try to remind myself all of the time that he is trying to save me. She is trying to save me. But as I said to one of the evangelical friends, Muslims are potential customers, and you guys are not doing a good job hating all of us. You should be nice with us. At least we might think about the idea of accepting the Christ. And if we are your enemy, as you claim, Jesus said, pray for us, pray for your enemy. I feel like the outcome in God's hand. It's not any of my business. I'm going to do my part. I see everyone around me that I agree or disagree as really my brother or sister. This is not being nice or not. It's a fact that we all came from Adam and Eve, unless any of you guys came from somewhere else. All of us came from Adam and Eve. So we are related. This is why I have this ear. I'm very comfortable. I try to tackle issue, not to damage individuals. So when I hear an argument, I hear the argument. I don't hear Chris or Tackle or others. I hear an issue. I try to deal with the issue, and I try my very best to have a clean heart toward the individuals, but have a strong argument against the opinion he or she might raise, and I feel comfortable with that. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm sitting here writing notes and everything. I think this is really great. Let me switch up, but I'm gonna let Rabbi wrap this up by having Chris come before she comes. How you deal with these absolute faith/truth claims from our faith that allows you to still work with folk of other faiths?
Well, I believe we have to begin by connecting on a human level as sons and daughters of Adam, people who have the image of God in them and upon them, that we are neighbors. And when the Lord Jesus encourages us to love our neighbors, he doesn't qualify who your neighbor is that you are to love. So we connect on a human level. And I've never been in the military, but I've been told that it doesn't matter the ethnicity or the religion or the gender of the person in the foxhole with you, as long as they're shooting in the same direction at the same enemy. And so if we think of justice or injustice as the foxhole, I don't care who you are. If you are fighting for my humanity, and if you're fighting with me for me to experience justice, then I welcome you to the cause. As a matter of fact, it was Malcolm X who helped me with that understanding, because when he came from Mecca, when he came back to America from Mecca, his worldview had opened up tremendously. And he came back and said that he would stop making sweeping indictments against white people, because it was in Mecca that he recognized that there were European Muslims there and Muslims from all over the planet. And so his worldview was exposed because of what he had experienced in Mecca. And when he came back, he developed a coalition of like-minded people who had as their number one agenda the liberation and the justice of Black Americans. And he went on record as saying, if you are for that agenda, then you and I can fight together. So I think when there are noteworthy issues and problems and agendas in the community, it doesn't matter who shows up to come against that. It matters that people show up to come against that. And it was Martin Luther King who said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I'll go a step further and say injustice to anyone is injustice to everyone. So again, we connect on a human level. There's a time and a place to discuss religion, but usually it's not the right time or the right place to talk about it. And so there's a time for that. But right now we connect on a more human, soulish level for the advancement of people and to make sure that everyone has access to equality and human dignity.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Williamson. Okay, to wrap up this question, Rabbi Shayna Mackler.
I appreciate everything that has been said, Pastor Chris. This was really helpful. And I think what we have in common really can transcend those differences if it's a conscious choice to put aside those differences. Not that they don't matter, but they don't matter to the task at hand. Or they can both or all inform the task at hand, and we should make room for that. I don't come from a tradition that loves absolutes. We like dialogue and discussion and dismantling the conversation a bit to come up with an understanding. We have that tradition of interpretation, and I think the understanding that our unity is not based in our uniformity in our own tradition. And so knowing that and being a minority faith, we've always had to deal with a majority faith around us and recognize that we don't have that absolute certainty. But what we do share is a job to do in this world and to take care of humanity and our planet. I think what happens for us is like what Imam Bahloul was saying, is that we do get some conversations about conversion and proselytizing, and it's not our way. But I've come to understand that it does come from a place of love. And I think that having that conversation and recognizing that diffuses any hostility I might have from someone else mentioning that to me. I want to understand it more, and I want to be able to find the places that we do have connection. And I think that's the work I know with you, Pastor Tucker, and with the Imam, and with Ingrid. I don't know Chris as well. To be able to do that work together, we have those conversations. And the jurist, Oliver Wendell Holmes, I think he said something like certitude leads to violence, right? It stops all discussion, and it can only lead to violence, because when you are planted so firmly in one place, there's nowhere to go, right? So you have to fight it off. And I think that we have to stop confusing rightness with righteousness. We have to be able to put aside being right for the sake of being righteous, or bringing righteousness in. And so for me, that's really where I think those of us who want to use our faith to help make a better world and to be able to work with others in creating that better world, we've been able to put aside rightness and not having to correct or defend in order to get that work done, for that righteous work to be done.
Y'all are killing me. I can't write this quick. I mean, I really wish to hope to continue to try to expand this dialogue. And even some of the things that you said, even with starting with Dr. Bahloul, the fact that you are sensitive that the evangelical is trying to save you, that allows you to give them a pass. That's a whole nother level of tolerance. That's just a whole nother level of tolerance that, I'm just listening. Our unity is not based on uniformity. If injustice was a foxhole and I take people's statements, and once I mess them up, Chris, I don't have to attribute it to them. So you'll be all right. But if injustice is a foxhole and justice is a target and everybody's shooting in that direction, this is helpful for me in that I really think that as society, and if we are committed as people and as citizens to human flourishing, that if more people of faith like you could hold these positions in tension with the beliefs inside of our own traditions to look forward and pass our own selves toward overall human flourishing. I don't know, it just seems like it would be so easy, but I don't know if I could put together a panel of 12 of varying faiths that we could even have this conversation. I will say that having pre-existing relationships also helps when there is an issue, because my care and concern for that person often bridles other areas that might be offensive to that person. So I thank you for that. What I want to do is, we have been having ongoing technical difficulties and people who had registered can't get in. I don't know what happened. I'm trying to look like it's not bothering me. I know y'all see me, I'm looking down a little bit. So Quentin, if you got Dr. Harris, who has made it with us, I definitely would like to bring him on as not only a fellow journey person with me, but many of you know him also, and he is the president of this great institution in which I sit right now. Quentin, can you bring Doc up?
Yes, hello, everybody.
There you are.
There I am. I did get an opportunity to hear some of the rich comments and responses, the deep dive that you all are taking tonight for theological imagination. I just wrote myself a note, theological imagination across religious traditions. And that kind of theological imagination is necessary if we are going to be able to find the truth and the claims of truth as they relate to all of our humanity through those religious traditions. And I applaud this kind of dialogical conversation because religious traditions seemingly cannot get out of the canon of their own truth claims, and to be informed by other truth claims and other traditions in a way where you're not defending, but you're open to engagement. And that is necessary in our current situation where cults and ideological claims that are being made seemingly cut people off from listening to other traditions and finding truth. And at the end of the day, truth that affirms our collective humanity is what we're after. Truth that gives us an openness to the creation and the gifts of God, and however the sacred invites itself into our spaces is what we want to honor. And the more we can understand that no one exhausts that truth, no one can completely absolutize that truth, that no one has a claim on it to the extent that they cannot be open to whatever else they may discover, the more religion becomes a friend, let me put it that way, becomes a gift to us rather than religion becoming evil and against us. And we have seen how religion across the years and across the decades was probably the most evil that we've had to contend with in our lives, in our history in America. And so I'm grateful for this kind of conversation. I had a wonderful conversation this evening, David Tucker. And I think that's the reason why I got here. And I thought this meeting was at 7 rather than 6. And I got so excited. I had about an hour conversation with James Lawson this evening. And James Lawson, as you know, is a deeply committed person to a vision of our collective humanity. Beginning, of course, he's a Christian faith affirmer of Jesus, but it goes beyond that to the point that he points up what it is that we ought to look like as human beings if we embrace the best of what we understand about God through our traditions. What should we look like? How would we look? What would the world look like if we affirm the best of our traditions and what truth calls us to? And I'll just say that and leave that, but I'm looking forward to these kind of dialogical exchanges so that we can get to that truth and find what we could look like in our collective humanity. Justice, of course, is going to be there. Justice and openness and access to all the resources that we can provide through justice. That's what it's going to look like. What it's going to look like is that nobody is going to be condemned and or be defined by anybody's tradition, but openness to how people discover themselves through traditions that are alive with faith. What it's going to look like is going to look like people being able to not defend, but be on the offensive because they understand what is good for you and what is good for me and my own cultural, racial, and histories has to be good for you. And if you keep me from discovering it, you can't discover it for yourself. I think I just said something, you just can't discover it for yourself. And what white America has done, it has co-opted the best of our religious traditions, canonized them for their own political gain and visions and lens, made it so narrow and provincial that it becomes Americanized in the Anglo-Saxon myth of superiority, dominance, and what James Lawson said this evening, plantation capitalism that keeps fueling a sense of dominance and control over people's life, and then put the garment of religion around it so that a Donald Trump and other people can say that they have this understanding of life and democracy, and at the same time, it is courting the very evil and the very oppression that we are working ourselves against, trying to find our way out of. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of this country using the best of what I know about God for the advantage of oppression. I'm tired of this country taking the best of what we discovered about freedom and then provincially taking it for the gain and political dominance that white superiority want to continue to have. And I think you're tired too. I think we're all tired.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired.
Like water and righteousness that will ever flow in stream. Let liberation and love come together. Let stitch together love and liberation. Let's stitch together Judaism and Islam and the best of Christian faith. Let's stitch together the openness that God has for us in the very sacred spaces that our religious traditions represent. And that way, religion can have the kind of theological imagination and not become evil. I don't have to defend Martin King. I don't have to defend Malcolm X. I don't have to defend Judaism. I can be open to it. And I can say, feed me the bread that is in your tradition so that I can have the sustenance and the power to advance the cause of our humanity as God sees it. Y'all got me on the roll there.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you finally made it in. And I really do thank you and want to thank you not only for your leadership here at ABC, but even in the city as creating this space and allowing us to do this. And we want to continue having these dialogues so that we can try to make an impact in our society, in our world, and right now, even in our city. So I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful that you allowed me to exercise what gifts I have here at American Baptist College also.
Yeah, let me just say I'm grateful for you, David Tucker, and I say that heartfelt and with the intimacy of our relationship and collegiality now, but friendship as well. There are rare times when people develop in a space where their own gifts, as you just said, but those gifts are used and being able to be used for a larger purpose, and they can be impactful. And we were fortunate to get this support from the Lilly Endowment for Thriving Congregations, and I'm just pleased with the work that David Tucker is doing and having these kind of conversations within the resources of that grant. And I think if we continue to be creative and imaginative, we can make an impact through this space that we have, this opportunity we have to shape Nashville differently. to impact Nashville differently, because I don't see what we're talking about tonight separate from the political arrangements and the systemic issues as it relates to Nashville and how Nashville make public policy decisions. I'm trying to bring social justice and public policy together through our faith traditions. So thank you, David Tucker, for your leadership and your direction tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Wow. Okay. Now, I was listening and I was going to write some stuff, but when he turned a corner, and in our faith tradition, there's a place even in the phrase of turning a corner when one raises their voice and it tends to draw your attention. So I just want to just say how grateful and I think Nashville is for the leadership and the longevity of people like Reverend Dr. Forrest Elliott Harris. Let me just flip and ask this question then, that as Doc was talking, it seems like we are focusing a lot around Christianity right now. It seems like from the responses of the question, Christianity seems to be the problem, the big problem tonight. So let me ask this question. We as a country say that the First Amendment guarantees freedom of religion. And we hear that. But then we simultaneously hear this historical national narrative that this is a Christian nation. So I want to start with my Islamic and Jewish brethren. I don't think brethren is the right one right here, but how do you hear that, and how does that impact you and your work? Dr. Bahloul.
Well, we get used not only within America, but worldwide. We get used to repeating a sentence. And
can you turn up just a little bit? So for some reason, your volume is lower than everyone else's to me. I don't know about anyone else, but your volume is just a little bit lower.
Is it good now?
It is much better now.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it seems like it's an issue not only in America, but when you travel everywhere, people intend to claim certain position. When trying to ask them for clarity, do you really call for separation between the state and the church? While it is something fundamental within the constitution in our country here, many people will like to repeat this, but no, but I have certain understanding in mind. I think it's a challenge for any minority, but something I really appreciate within this context, that while it seems like the majority within any country, I was delighted to participate in working with a group supporting a minority worldwide. I came to realize that it seems like the majority within any country, it seems they have similar behavior. The minority Muslims in Central Africa, for example, being harassed as a minority, while you go to the minority Christian in Pakistan, being having some trouble, as they said. It seems like the majority intend to assume certain power. I think in America we should realize that it's a special gift that we have the opportunity to live within a diverse society. We have an opportunity to question our positions and to ask and to answer. I spent years studying Judaism, but my understanding to Judaism moved to a different level when I started interacting with rabbis in Texas and in Tennessee, and they become close friends. My understanding about Christianity moved to a different level when I started looking to a Christian pastors as not an individual that I am competing with, but rather we are colleagues. I remember the one taught me how to file tax in America as a clergy was a United Methodist pastor. He said to me, "You are a clergy, you have to learn how to file tax." So I think we are fortunate to have this diversity. I see it to be powerful. And if anyone cares about America as a country, should support inclusiveness should appreciate this power and this special smell and taste in this country. I don't think, in my opinion, and all of you may be born in America and you grew up in America. I was born in Egypt and I grew up in Egypt. In my opinion, the most special gift about America is not really its economy size, nor its army size. I think America is so special because of its diversity and its stand for freedom. If American choose not to support this diversity and this freedom, I think we will lose in America the most special fact about us as American. The fact that people say, you know what, there is a separation between the church and the state. I don't think there is a separation. I think we see this every day, and I wish that people will come across frank and they make an argument for their positions. For me, as a minority, I really appreciate the opportunity. I heard many complain from many people, some people within my congregation, especially sisters, because of their scarf, and the people have the ability to identify them easily, and they become a target for hate sometimes. I understand this and it bothers me, but I see an opportunity for us really to reevaluate our positions, an opportunity for us to be part of a special fabric and be a model for the human family. I think we have a unique opportunity because of our capability today and our ability to communicate in a level no one else did before, or even envision or dream for before. We have a special tools, but these tools can be damaging if the one controlling the tool really has bad heart or bad mind. So I intend to be optimistic personally. I feel like we can turn things around, but I don't see separation between the church and the state. I didn't see it. It's obvious in Europe. There's no separation. In America, in my opinion, in a better place because we are naturally diverse. Everyone, your grandfather came from somewhere else. Maybe 3-4 generations came from somewhere else. But I feel like we can see what we are going through as an opportunity, and let us shape each other's. And then the religious community can be part of the solution, not really the cause of illness. And we cannot reach this without allowing an absolute freedom for everyone to speak his or her mind, being very comfortable about his or her positions. And as I've been taught growing up from my tradition, that my opinion is right, but it might be wrong. Other opinion is wrong. It might be right. Give the other side a chance. I really sense the challenge, but I see the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, Rabbi Mackler.
So if we think about America being a Christian nation, even though it's not codified that way, it behaves that way. I don't think there's any doubt to the fact that people believe that and act in that way. A pastor friend of mine says that, it used to be religion and country, and he sees it morphing now to religion is country. And he is seeing in his Christian community that blending of both. It's sort of a nationalism based on Christianity. I remember when I first started my justice work, it was even when I was in high school, I started advocacy, and I went to the Hill and I advocated on behalf of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, the first go around, which was passed almost unanimously, I believe. And it was like 1991 or 1992. And it sought to protect minority religious rights from the majority. So I advocated on behalf of Indigenous people's right to smoke peyote, right, which was illegal in many states. And so that was something that was to protect minority rights, religious rights. What's happening now with RFRA, this is an example with the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, is that it is being manipulated and it has twisted now into allowing the majority faith to assert itself on others in order to act out they're allowed to use their majority faith to sort of push aside other people's practices, and to insert it into business and insert it into like healthcare coverage and all the rest. And it sort of flipped it on its head. And I see that as a warning sign, really, for the blending of church and state in an unhealthy way, where it's one particular myopic, narrow understanding of faith for Christians and for the rest of us. It's very, very narrow. And I feel it sort of overtaking the minority faiths and other Christian faiths that don't believe in that sort of narrowness. So that's something that I do see, Pastor Tucker. I see some of that coming out now more and more recently than before. I did feel a little less that it was quite so obvious in the past, and now I feel like it's tilting the other way.
Thank you. Dr. Williamson. You need to unmute.
You know, once again, the history can't be denied, even though many people try to overlook it or even rewrite it. But when 11 of the first 15 presidents were slave owners, and even Thomas Jefferson, who helped frame the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, was a deist, that it's hard to say, once again, that this is a Christian nation. And the sins that were committed, once again, in the name of Jesus. It was Christian in name, but not Christian in practice or reality. And as my brother said, my Imam brother said, that the pastor, the evangelical pastor, told him he was going to hell. And then there was someone else that he mentioned that, you know, you're doing a poor job basically of evangelizing me. So when I looked over here at the questions in the chat, and someone was talking about, you know, when is there a time and a place for religion? You know, as I hear my man speak here, I'm like, wow, this is really an embarrassment. It's an indictment against this brand of Christianity, which is really a kind that wants to triumph over people, that really doesn't care about people. It cares about numbers. It cares about conversions, but really not about making disciples, but about conversions. And that has not worked. And so what my friend is saying here is that, love me, speak to me, and maybe I'll consider what you're talking about. But why would I want to check out your Christ if, in other words, you haven't even earned the right to be heard in my life, but you're coming in and you decapitate me with what you call the gospel, and you walk away feeling better about yourself, but you leave me here, you know, having been run over by religion. And so for me, my concern is with not so much evangelizing my Islamic friend or my Hebrew friend. I feel like I need to evangelize my evangelical friend and remind him or her what Jesus really stands for and what he's really about, and how we need to disconnect white Jesus and this white brand of Christianity from true biblical Christianity.
Thank you so much. Okay, come on, Pastor Ingrid.
Yeah, thanks. Can you repeat the question one more time, just so I make sure? I've gotten off track.
And you know, I'm going to try to, because I have it written here, but I kind of morphed it a little bit when I asked the question originally, that the Constitution in the First Amendment guarantees the right to the freedom of religion. But we have this historic national narrative that we hear often, that this is a Christian nation. How do you hear that? And how does it affect you in your work, particularly in your interfaith type work?
Yeah, well, honestly, it's embarrassing to me. I am not ashamed really to say that I'm embarrassed of Christians a lot of times. I am not embarrassed of my faith, and I'm not embarrassed of who I claim, right? But I am embarrassed by Christians a lot of the time. I think we live in a country full of fear. And that is clear by the way people cling to what they think is right. And I also think that we live in a country that has lost a little bit or a lot of its critical thinking. How is it that we do not understand that people came to this country for religious freedom, right? And then we want to oppress others for wanting the very same thing that, like, we, whatever, my heritage, people from Ireland and Germany, or, you know, Scotland, wherever, came over to find that religious freedom. And so how I just, Avi Poster made a comment over here on the chat, and it says, it's hard. He is a lifelong teacher. It's hard to be a lifelong teacher, or he says also a teacher in the pulpit, right? A clergy person, and to see people of faith acting this way. What have we done wrong? Like, how have we gone so far off course that we cannot use our critical minds to understand this conversation even that we're having, right? On a greater level, on a broader level, not just in this small context, but across a broader spectrum. What made people so afraid that they have to say, I'm right, all of the time? And that I cannot, Dr. Harris, like you were saying, I cannot be open to this, right? I cannot share this experience with you. I have to be right, and it has to be my way. So that is how I feel. That's how I feel about it. And it is scary to me. It is another statement that somebody made on here was, you know, how do you say, you know, from Christ's own lips, he said, go make disciples. Christ was clear about that. One of my favorite things is, or one of my favorite quotes, and I think it's St. Francis maybe, that said, I'd rather see a sermon any day than to hear one, right? I must have heard that a long time ago, because that is how I feel about our lives together. Right? If we can all live our sermons with our feet and with our lives and with our love, we wouldn't have to try to, like, convince people. Imam, maybe the people would get off your back and quit trying to proselytize you, right? Like, that's not going to happen. So I think we really have to work on our issues of fear and our issues of critical thinking, honestly, right? Like, those are the two things that keep popping up for me over and over, because I'm not okay with thinking like this is a Christian nation. It's not a Christian nation. It is a nation made up of beautiful, beautiful people of all different kinds, who, again, Dr. Harris, we have to stitch together, right? We have to stitch these traditions together. And to another question, to stand in solidarity with each other against the injustices that we are seeing, oftentimes in the name of Christ.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Thank you so much. I'm remembering it was Gandhi who said, I like Jesus, or some variation of that. I like Jesus. It's Christians that I have the problem with. I want to read one question here, and I knew this time would go so quick, but one of my cohorts in crime, Neely Hicks, has a question in here, who we've worked together over the last several weeks on the engaging politics and religion. And so she has a question in here, but let me give a shout out to one of the sages in my life, Avi Poster. He is, I hate saying it publicly, but I love you, Avi, okay? I said it once, I'm not gonna do it again. Neely put in the chat, how might people of differing faith traditions stand together against the bastardization of religion rather than pointing fingers at others' religions, how might people of differing faith traditions stand together? And so we're getting close to the end of time. And so if you can think about that also in the sense of, I wanted to be able to ask you, what is it also about your faith tradition that I could learn from? Tell me something that blesses your spirit and your faith tradition that could possibly be a blessing to my spirit also. So let me start this time with Chris.
Wow, those are two heavy questions. And
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. And I don't even know if they can be put together, but if nothing else, I had to give a major shout out to Neely Hicks, who is also serving under Pastor McIntyre out there, who also has a cohort, a Reverend Joy Bronson, who is also on staff here at American Baptist College. She is the program director for the other Lilly Grant that Dr. Harris talked about, Leading Lives of Meaning and Purpose. So I've been riding some of Pastor McIntyre's horses. So.
Well, to answer the first question.
Address that. You can either address the one question I asked, or what is it that about your faith tradition that blesses you that may be a blessing to me also?
Well, I'll try to briefly hit both. The first question in terms of how we can come together. I think once again, it's the cause. That there has to be a cause, a human crisis, a human need that brings us together, because we connect in God's neighborhood in terms of humanity. So if my neighbor is hurting directly, I'm hurting indirectly. It affects me. And so therefore, I think we need to find causes that are just, that are right, that are necessary, that our voice, that our own individual faith traditions may motivate action, involvement, and things like that, to step in and step up. And then secondly, as far as my faith, as my sister said, I'm somewhat embarrassed because much of this conversation has centered around Christianity. And there are many things that we should be ashamed of for those who name the name of Jesus Christ. But it should be our love. It should be our care, our concern to visit those who are in prison, to clothe the naked, to feed the hungry, to give water to the thirsty, to welcome the foreigner and the stranger. Those are the things that should indicate that we're Christ followers. But unfortunately, people hide behind political platforms and denominationalism, and those things usually don't signal love. They usually signal divisiveness and hate, and a kind of, again, superiority over others who are not only not like them by way of race, but also not like them by way of their religion. So, but I would hope it would be my love for you.
Thank you so much. Rabbi Mackler.
Yes, so those are challenging questions to address together, but what resonates with me is really the concept of fear. When we're talking about the politics of fear, we're really understanding where that evil is coming from. And it's perpetuated, I think, from pulpits. I think that's a way to keep the power, is to, instead of talking about hope, people talk about fear. And when we talk about pointing fingers at others, as Neely mentioned, or bastardizing others, I think the concept really comes, that rivalry comes from a function of a belief in scarcity, right? That there's not enough for all of us. So there's not enough of God's love for all of us. So I have to, if I don't have any, or if you have it, then I need it. And so God, it's putting God in this way that we can't all have a sense of that love, right? It's minimizing God in a way that makes God's love scarce. So then we have to fight over it. And it's being henpecked, right? So the biggest ones are gonna go first. And I think that that's sort of what we're perpetuating with this idea of scarcity when we're talking about religious values, that we're promoting fear instead of hope. And we're overshadowing what the good that religion can do, and really perpetuating the evil when we allow for that sort of rivalry to take place. And instead we can show how wide that embraces. And I think we talked about it by our relationships, by modeling that. That we know sometimes the interfaith work is done by clergy, right? We know that sometimes it really is the head of the congregation that goes out and involves itself with the other people that are the heads of their congregations instead of our members. But slowly it can be our members as well. It does happen the opposite, like we have Avi and others that I've seen on this call that sort of push the clergy into doing those right things. They're our moral compass as well. But I think by modeling, that proximity, those relationships, that's how we can stand together. It's by living it and really believing it, not just on a panel, but as you have done, showing up, being there, calling when someone's not there, or when something happens to a community. That modeling, I think can go a long way. What I can tell you that's going to give you a sense of spirit or lift your spirit, I think listening to some of the conversation, I think one of our aphorisms is, when in a place where there is no good human soul, be a good human soul, right? So even in your own faith, when there's something, when it doesn't seem like the people are acting out their faith, act out your faith. Right? You be responsible for what you can control, and you can control being a good person, not even when no one else is doing that. So it's one of my favorite quotes. So there, hopefully that'll lift your spirit a little, Davie.
It did. And I didn't want to do no Baptist gyrations. I kind of wanted to do that.
You can give me an amen. I'll take an amen.
Like when you said that, we'll throw our hand up like that, but I didn't want to do that. Because I am in the academy and I'm in the academic space, but this is the chapel. So I guess I could have did that. Ingrid.
I think being intentional about those relationships, like Rabbi Shana said, we are all stretched thin, I'm sure. Because there is a lot going on in our world. And so we have to choose where we spend our energy. And I think that it's a good choice to spend energy building relationships in our communities. And so I think intentionally showing up to conversations like this, intentionally being a part of the, different groups that have people talking across lines, right? We have those things are in our community. We have conversations that are happening in our community. And if we can get more people to show up than just the four of us who probably show up to all those things, right? But if we can get more of our colleagues to show up so that at least we are having those conversations, at least faith leaders are having those conversations, right? And then, like you said, we can pull others in, I think, and maybe we'll follow others. I mean, I would, but being more intentional, I think, about our relationships and how we build those, where we build those, who we build those with. I just always think it's about relationships. I can no longer demonize you when I know your story and when I know who you are, right? And so that's important. I would even say, the people who took us to the state Supreme Court, we're friends now, right? We kept that dialogue going and we're friends now, which is a miracle because I would not have thought that would have happened. And I will say specifically in terms of the faith piece, the thing that lifts my spirit, and this is not for Christianity in general, this is for my little pocket of Christianity in the United Methodist Church. I am thankful beyond words, especially in moments like this where it feels like hope is really shallow, right? Where it feels like we have to grasp really far to find that hope. I'm thankful for our connection, which we have in the United Methodist Church, which is a global connection, with Dr. Lawson in California and with with my friend who is a bishop in Nigeria, and with, you know, we have connections all over the world. And to me, that has helped, again, broaden my vision of what humanity is and who humanity is and how we can love each other, even within the same denomination. So different. We're so different, right? But that has been a gift to me, and hopefully it can lift your spirit by knowing that, like, you know, it lifts my spirit when I'm reading a scripture on Sunday morning, that I know somebody in Australia is reading that same scripture because we're following lectionary together. And so we're connected in a bond that feels really safe, and that feels loving and secure. And maybe that's why I'm able to not be fearful. Maybe if everyone felt that safety and that love and that security in their family, that we could let go of some of this fear. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Those are my pieces.
Thank you. Dr. Bahloul.
Well, I think I have to say that, especially with the brother and the sister here said, we are feeling bad because of the talk about Christianity and what some Christians are doing. I want to remind everyone that the majority of the Christians are wonderful people, and the many good work here and everywhere worldwide happened by Christians and loving the Christ. We should all remember this. We should all remember that the majority of the human beings are good, and this minority, we must not allow them to contaminate our life. So I wanna say you can be proud if your faith and your community and what the Christians, very good Christians, were able to do worldwide. So if you are speaking about some troublemakers within Christianity, we have some troublemakers within the Muslim community, and I am sure Shana will agree with me that Judaism and any other religion, this is one thing. Secondly, as far as I think the key part of solution will be for us all to stop speaking about each other and to start speaking with each other. We should stop speaking about everyone. We have to start speaking with everyone. And it can be a way for us to eliminate different level of stereotype. And I think we can move more aggressive toward a better future for all. I think we should all do that. Speak with, not about. With, not about. And I think we'll be all fine. Something within my religion, I feel personally it's very powerful. That the concept of clergy does not exist within the religion at all. This is someone between you and the God, or claiming the authority that he or she can speak in behalf of God, does not exist in Islam. As one of the 7 leading jurists within the Muslim community, 700 years after the death of Prophet Muhammad, mentioned this when he said, the religion of Islam eliminates the power of clergy by depending solely in the collective morality of the society. So the majority morality within the society lead. No one, no Ossama or other, can claim that he or she is speaking in behalf of God. God can speak for himself. He can do that, and we should all believe that he does. So I feel like it's understandable that we focus all in certain challenges here and there, but I see something very good going on in the country. When people protest and recite nonsense, I see something positive about it, about this, which is any doctor worldwide would love to deal with a disease with symptoms. No one would like to have a patient with a very aggressive white cancer. When people speak their mind, they give us an opportunity to debate them, to change their positions. It gives us an opportunity for us to have this beautiful dynamic. So if we have some people within our country, our fellow men and women, having a very aggressive view toward the minority, I think them being able in the last few years to speak their mind there's something good about it. At least we identify the challenge. And because we don't want to deal with cancer, we hope that we deal. Now everyone is speaking his mind. I hope we'll be able to go through this cycle, and the outcome will be good for everyone if we intend to engage in a discussion. And as I said, speak with, not about each other.
Thank you so much. Dr. Harris, we're a little bit over, but I'm gonna give you a couple minutes here to come in and
Yeah, let me just say, not a couple of minutes, 6 seconds. I've been very, very touched by your comments, especially that which touches the spaces that we all want to exist in when we need to be affirmed, when we need to be affirmed in a world that does not affirm, does not know how to affirm. And each of your statements came across as affirming. And that is what is so needed at this stage of our lives, is where do people find deep affirmation for their humanity? And they should find it in our religious spaces. There was an article written by Eric Brown in the opinion section of the Tennessean, and he was referring to the life of John Lewis. And he said, if the proverb is right, that one does not die until everyone that person touches is gone, then John Lewis will be with us for a long time. What I think the best of a tradition can come to affirm is how people are touched deeply, deeply in their sense of sacred space and self, to the point wherein they cannot live with the contradictions of the world against that. They cannot accept injustice. They cannot accept hate. They cannot accept division. They cannot accept anything that does not look like what they've seen by their being touched. And there are some people in all of our lives that have deeply touched us. And my mother, who's 94, still living, I talked to her today, deeply touched. Religion and faith and the things we've talked about, love, the things we talked about, fear and overcoming fear because we have something greater than fear. We can overcome it because we have something greater than it. That is deeply touching. So I'll leave it at that. That's more than 6 seconds. But I think we have been touched, all of us. We've been touched. And in that being touched, it's the glory of what Kirk Byron Jones said earlier today, who I had a conversation with as well. He said we can get through the horror because we have a hallelujah. We can get through the horror because we have a hallelujah. Thank you so much.
thank you. And I would like to, even as I'm thinking now, this cannot stop right here. Let me get my mind right here. Dr. Bahloul, Rabbi Shifton, Neely Hicks, myself, were all part of this statement of conscience. And there are 4 areas that we agreed, and many of the signers who signed it, that's now reaching toward 1,000, say that these 4 things can help move our society forward. And so I'm really thinking now about how to bring us back together, how to get a larger group of interfaith folk to try to do some of the things that we talked about here today. I'm extremely grateful for your giving of your time, and also for the work that you do that consistently, constantly even inspires me. Took my wife out to Ingrid's church one Saturday while the building was going on, and she was just amazed that not only did the church allow her to do that, but that the people in the community let her. And so I've been blessed. My own sense of self is expanded by my associations with you. So I want to reach out later so we can try to get this and expand this, because I think not only our country, but specifically our city really needs this right now. So again, thank y'all for coming. I'm grateful to, looks like all the people who signed on stayed on, and we're grateful for them, and we hope that they've been blessed also. And as I sign off, I'm going to try something that I'm probably going to mess up all the way on. But in my Christian way, one way we might say is, to him who is able to keep you from stumbling and to present you before his glorious presence without fault and with great joy. To the only God, our Savior, be glory, majesty, power, and authority through Jesus Christ our Lord, before all ages, now and forevermore. Amen. But I also want to say, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face to you and give you peace. Then I want to say, Barakah Allah. I hope I said that right. I am grateful to all of you for your friendship and companionship, and look forward to moving this truck on down the road a little bit. Thanks to all those in the audience. We couldn't get to your questions, but I thank for you giving to this most meaningful conversation. And this will not be the last time that you hear from us. Peace.
Amen.